the Gooch. What's going on, bud? Another Saturday. Another Saturday on we're doing the little something different today on the Conquest stuff. I got the parts car open. I don't know if I've ever shown this car on YouTube before, but silver 88 in a pretty rough condition. As you can see from the previous owner, it looked like they did some kind of head gasket work. A bunch of other stuff. They did some timing chain stuff too. Filter and all this came with the car. All this randomness. This car's been sitting for like 20 years, since I think 2003 was the last time it was registered and driven. Pretty rare. Cloth maroon. Buckets actually in pretty decent shape too, so that's kind of cool. Automatic, unfortunately, but all the original stuff in here, original radio, gauge cluster works, all that stuff. So I bought this car last year ish, probably about a year ago. Been sitting in the driveway since I've been messing with the blue car, and today I was like, you know what, let me put a battery in this thing and see what I've got. I basically originally just bought this car just as a reference guide, since it's all original under the hood. It's nice to have. So when I go to put the my blue car back together, I can have a reference of where everything goes, where all the bolts go, or where all the screws go, and where all the equipment goes, because blue car is going to go back to original condition as well. So it's nice to have one of these just as a reference. And then I figured, well, maybe I'll keep this car and see if I can get it running and figure out something to do with it if the motor's any good. I did recently find out, I don't know if you've guys watched, some of you guys watched in the previous videos from the blue car project, that I pulled the valve cover off this just to see what was going on, and it seems like it's a brand new head. They put a head gasket on it. They put a brand new head on it. That valve train, everything looks brand new. It's super clean. So I don't think this head's got any miles on it. And the story that I got from when I bought it from the guy said that they put a head gasket on it and they never could get it running right or something. It wasn't the owner, it was like a friend of the owner that was selling it or something. It was a little sketchy of a story, but so I figured, okay, maybe they just messed something up when they put the head on. Maybe they got the timing wrong or something, or the wires crossed. But I checked all that today and it seemed all right. And believe it or not, I pulled the fuel line off and cranked it over a bunch of times, and fuel came out of here. So car's been sitting for 20 years and there's still fuel in the tank, and it was pumping out. I had it in a little jug, and the jug was filling up with gas, so that's a bonus. The fuel pump works. So I said, all right, well, let's fire it up and see what happens. I put the fuel line back on, and I'm gonna show you what happens with this car when I go to start it. It's got, what does it say, 114? I think it says 114. So here we go, we're gonna start this thing up. Starts up, a bunch of rat stuff came out of the tailpipe when I went to go start it. Bunch of rat stuff. This car's been sitting for a long time. Out at least it was inside of a barn. So it runs pretty good, right? Bunch of smoke coming out of there. Not a good sign. I checked the PVC, that thing's working good. Doesn't sound terrible at idle. Ooh. Oh yeah. She's knocking good, huh? So to me that sounds like rod bearings, if I'm not mistaken. So I think the rod bearings are pretty shot on this. Probably the piston rings too. If this is smoking that bad out of here, it's gotta be piston rings. But sounds like to me that this motor is pooched, right? Hopefully somebody else can chime in and let me know, but it's amazing this car's been sitting for 20 years and the fuel pump still works, and the fuel in the tank is 20 years old. I didn't put anything in there, and it fired up on old fuel. It actually sounds pretty decent at idle. When I first started up, it sounded pretty bad, but once the oil started getting going, everything kind of lubed up and pretty interesting. I got no coolant in here, so I gotta make sure that I don't run it for too long, I guess. Like I said, that head's brand new. I don't want to fuck it up. Look at that smoke coming out of there. So yeah, I think that's I want to say that's piston rings, and maybe a crank bearing. Not 100% sure. But anyways, I'm gonna shut it down because I don't have any coolant in this thing, and maybe I'll do a compression test on it just to see if it's the rings. But it definitely sounds bad when you give it a little bit of gas, and this oil in here looks like shit too, so